There we go. Okay, so we're going to start here with making sure that we have all of our layers available. Okay, so let's review the layers that we have. Number one, the object layer is going to be any visible lines that we're going to be putting on our drawing. The other lines that we're going to be interested in are going to be hidden. Okay, so when we're representing a hidden feature. And then additionally, we're going to be working with center lines today. Now, the other ones are kind of in the background there. We're going to be hitting those as we, add dimensions and borders and cutting plane lines and section views, but we're just getting our feet wet. So the three that we're going to be most interested in are going to be those for our drawing. But additionally, we will be using the construction lines. Okay, they're going to aid us in getting things set up. Okay. So make sure that you have these available. You have to use these. I'm going to be checking your files this time. You're going to be updating the DWG files, the AutoCAD files themselves, not screenshots, because I want to make sure you have everything set up layer wise and that you have good construction. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually start with the construction layer. So put your construction layer on right now. And I'm breaking one of my rules, but they did it, and I thought it was kind of nice for this construction phase of setting up our orthographically projected drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn on my grid and my snap. I'm not a snap person. Okay, grid and snap at the bottom, and then I'm going to arrow down. I'm going to have it on briefly. Okay, and then we're gonna turn it off. But in the beginning here, when we're actually setting these up, I thought it was really helpful. So we're going to go to snap settings. And what I want to make sure that you have set up, which is, I believe, the standard, we want to have these set up on 1/2-inch increments for the snap and for the grid. Okay. And then just make sure that up on top here, it's clicked on for snap and on for grid. It should be, because if you click those other ones on, you should be good. So 1/2 inch or 0.5 for the spacing and the X and the Y for both directions. Okay. So I'm gonna hit OK, and you're gonna notice that in the background, I'm just gonna kind of pan this up. In the background, you can see the faint grid in the background, and then when I actually activate a command, my snap is gonna turn on. All right. So with your construction layer active, we're gonna go over and we're gonna down arrow, and we're gonna create a construction line, or it's called an X line. Okay. All that is it's gonna be on this layer. And it's going to be something that is going to aid us in our geometry. So we're going to activate it. It's the third one over from the left. And it's going to ask us to specify a point. We want this to intersect with our 0, 0. So our first point is just going to be, you could either go down, go right over the top, because now that I'm snapping, it's on there, right? Or you can key in 0, 0 if you're like, no, I want to be exact. So what's happened is you're going to notice that if you just drag a little bit, not click yet in either direction, you're going to notice that it's going to be vertical and horizontal. Now, if you could go at an angle, but I do have my ortho on right now, and I do want it on when I'm creating these construction lines, because they are all going to be vertical and horizontal. Okay. So once I have that in place, my second click, I'm going to do my horizontal one first here. I'm going to go click. And it's in place. Now, if you just move your arrow or if you move your cursor anywhere else, notice that behind where you just clicked, you now have that gray line. That's your construction line in place. That's entity on the screen itself. Now, what you're going to do is you're still in there. You can go vertical, okay, through that 0, 0, and I'm going to do that. And then you can just click anywhere. And now I've created both a horizontal and a vertical line in that one command. And now I'm going to hit Enter or Escape to end the command. Remember, before we do our next command, we always want to be out of the previous one. Hit your Escape or Enter key to end that command. So now you'll notice I have these two construction lines. If I go over the top of them, they are lines that are there. But if I try to zoom out, notice that they're like to infinity, okay, in both directions. And that's what an X line is, okay? All right, now what we're going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom of page 5-7. Okay. And you're going to notice that they set up a series of grids. All right. So we have our vertical, our horizontal line in place right here. Now what we're going to do is using the offset command, we're simply going to offset up for the increments that they have here and offset over for the increments they have there. All right. So you can follow along with me, or if you want to kind of move ahead and use those numbers, go right ahead. So here, I'm going to go up to the offset command, which is 2 down below our eraser. And then I'm going to specify my offset distance. So I'm going to go vertically up. So I'm going to do 2.5. Let's see. 2.5. Oops. My number's not on. There we go. 2.5. And then I'm going to select the entity that I want to offset. Oh, I don't think I'm in here right. So let me start over. Offset, specify through distance. Yeah, 2.5. Select the object here. Now it's working. And then I'm going to go vertically up. I was zooming in and out a little bit. Okay. So that's going to be there. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom back in. So I've got it reasonably on my screen here. Okay. Now, if I was using another 2.5 inch distance, I could continue on. All right. But I'm not. So I have to hit escape and I have to go back into the command. And then it's going to ask me for a new distance. My new distance is 1.5. Enter. Remember, follow your command line. I'm going to select the object to offset. Then I'm going to push up in the direction that I want to offset, and then left click, and it's there. I have to hit escape again and go back into, because now I need to do a 3-inch offset. So 3, enter, select that line, go vertically up, and then left click when it's on the correct side, and then hit escape. So I've got my horizontal lines vertically, up in that direction. So these two right here, my height of 2.5 is going to be the height of my front view. And the top here, the 3 inches, is going to be the width of that top view. Okay. Now I'm going to go my vertical lines with the horizontal distances. So I'm going to do another offset. And my distance this time is 5. I'm going to select that vertical line, select over to the right and left click, hit escape. Then I'm going to go 1.5 inches between my views again. So I'm going to click offset, 1.5, enter, select, and go over to the right and click. And again, watch your command line. It's always going to tell you what it needs. There's no expectation that you memorize how, these commands are working, especially at this point. It's still early, Okay, so I'm going to kind of get to the middle here. Here is my grid, okay? So as we look to the next page here, 2 pages, you're going to notice this is 510. We're going to just put our rectangles around the extents of those boxes, if you would, that we created. And this is going to represent our front view in generic form. And then we're going to change it up, top view and our right side view with the 1.5 inch space in between each one. So let me go back to AutoCAD. Now, before we do that, we're not going to draw on the construction layer. Okay, we're going to draw on the object layer. So we're going to change that layer before we start drawing. And I'm going to click on it and we're going to go down to the object line, not the 0 layer. We're no longer drawing anything on the 0 layer. Okay, object line layer. Okay. So now that I'm on my object line layer, I'm going to do one more thing. We're going to go down to our menu line, or our status line, I think it's called, and we're going to click on the line weight. We want to show the line weight so that it's grayed. Okay. And now this is going to give you a visual clue that, yep, I'm on the right layer. So now I'm going to click the line command, and I'm still in Snap, and you'll notice that all of my increments are on the 1/2 inch increments. So I'm good. I'm going to continue to use that. So I'm going to snap. It's going to grab the intersection, and then I'm going to go straight down to that corner, over, making sure that I'm on the perimeter each time of each view. So line. So you're going to notice now that because the line weight for the object line is that 1/2 of a millimeter, notice how much thicker it is than the construction line, which was default. Okay. it kind of helps you to see that, oh, my object lines, remember, are the most important lines in the views. So they are going to have, you know, a thicker presence. Okay. So everybody here so far? So this is just generic. We're going to be trimming some things away. We know that this isn't what our views are going to look like, but it kind of gets them front, top, right side view perspective with our lower left-hand corner being 0. Yes.
In the layers, do you already have your object line thicker or deeper?
Object line what? Thicker? We did it when we set up our layers. That was the line width. It was supposed to be 0.5 millimeters. Make sure that you have this activated, Christian. Do you have the line weight on?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, then you did not change your line weights. So that'll have to be adjusted.
Oh, no.
You didn't?
I
Oh.
changed the line.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, question.
Yeah.
All the way at the bottom down here. At the way at bottom. So if you don't have it, you have to go to customize and go to line weight. Yeah. All right. How are we doing? All right. Awesome. Okay. So now we're going to move forward. Let's kind of take a peek at our AutoCAD book and see what they're doing next. Okay. So you're going to notice that on page 511 down here, we're going to trim this off. Okay. Now they just give you the dimensions here, but what I think is important is that we go back to our original drawing on page 5.4 so that you can understand and see why are we putting these numbers on here. It's because it's the physical, dimensions of the part. So when we're looking in this direction, this thickness of, if you would, the leg coming out or the foot coming out is 1 inch. It's shown actually over here. It's 1 inch high. And then if we look on the top here, the thickness of that L part going up is also 1 inch. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to offset the lines that we created, not the construction lines, the lines that we created. And we're going to offset them 1 inch in each direction. So I'm going to go back to AutoCAD. Now this is where I depart from the snap command. Okay. I'm done with it. I no longer want to have snap on. So I'm going to turn my snap off. Okay. I just find it easier to grab points. It's not like, only going to the corners. So I am going to go to my offset command now, and we're going to offset 1 inch. So put your distance in, and we're going to offset the vertical line here into the front view. And then it's going to be 1 inch as well. Same distance, that horizontal line. Oopsie, let me grab it. Horizontal line and up into the view. Okay. Now, I'm going to hit escape, and we're going to trim away the parts that we don't want in this view. Okay. And you guys know how to use trim. So we're going to go up to our little scissors, and we're going to get rid of the parts that we no longer want. Okay. There we go. And then hit the escape to get out of there. We have an L. All right. Again, I want to semi follow along with them so that you can kind of see it come together. So that was 511. Let's turn the page. All right. So the next place we're going to go is 514. And it's not that I'm skipping things, but they just use illustrations for like every little step. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add these lines to the top view. Okay. And as we look back at our drawing, they're there because they're the width of this cutout with the radius. And they're also the same width up here. So these are all in line and centered on our part. Okay. 1 inch. Now, because this is 3 inches wide, that means from this edge to this is going to be 1 inch. The width is 1 inch. And then to the last edge is 1 inch. So we're going to offset kind of using that construction from the top view. Now I'm going to go back to page 514. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the offset command again. And we're going to offset up into the view. The last time we used offset, it was 1 inch, and it happens to be the same number that we want. So we can just hit enter. We're going to select that horizontal line, and we're going to go up into the view. We're going to select the same line because we have the same distance. We're going to do another 1 inch increment, this line, and we're going to go straight up. Okay. Now we get to also do another 1 inch because this width right here is 1 inch as well. So we might as well offset from that left side 1 inch in. Okay. And now we're at the point on page 514 where the book is. Okay. Now we're not going to trim anything away here. We're just going to kind of leave this as is. Leave this as is for right now. The next thing that they're going to do, and it starts on the bottom of page 515. Okay, right down here. This is step number 9. We're going to add in this line right there. Okay, that line right there. Now, we don't know the length of it, but we do know that it starts 1/4 inch in from that corner and it ends 1 1/4 over to the left. Okay, now in the top view here, this is not a 0, 0, absolute 0, 0 that we can go from. 0, 0 is down in the lower left-hand corner of our front view, right? So we can't put the coordinates in based on the 0, 0. So we're going to use relative. Okay, we're going to use relative. So I'm going to go back to AutoCAD here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate my line command, and it's going to ask me, where do I want to use my first point? Now, my point is like up here, all right? 0, 0 is down here. I would have to figure out exactly where it would be, all right? And you could, but I don't want to. So what I'm going to do is I know where it is starting from that lower right-hand corner of that view. So I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to establish a snap from. I'm going to snap from, remember that's my second one down. I'm going to snap from that corner. And my first line is going to be relative to where that starting point is. So now I'm going to say shift 2 for the @ symbol. Did it do it? Hold on. Line, talk in between, snap from. So now I want to do shift @ symbol or shift 2 for the @ symbol because now I'm relative to that point, that snap from that I just identified. And now my first point, I want to have 1/4 inch up. Okay, so that means that my 0 for the X, comma, 0.25, enter. And notice I'm starting just 1/4 inch up from that corner. Okay. Now I want it to land. I'm going to turn my ortho off right now. I want it to land over here, which is going to be from where I'm at symbol. Okay. I'm going to go over to the left, which is a negative direction, 1.75, comma, negative 0.25, because I want to be down here from where I'm at. So my second point is going to be shift 2 for the @ symbol, negative 1.75, comma, negative 0.25. There we go. Okay. Let's do it again. Let's do it up from here. So I'm going to go line, snap from my upper right-hand corner here. Now this time I want to start just 1/4 inch down below. So it's going to be at 0, comma, negative 0.25. There we go. And then now my second point is going to be at from where I'm at right now. It's going to be a negative 1.75, comma. Now I've got to go up from where I'm at, 0.25. There we go. All right. So thinking back for our coordinates, relative coordinates, and using that snap from to get us started. So now what we're going to do is we're going to trim away what we don't need. So we're going to hit that trim command, click, click. We can click in between here too, because that one's going to go away. Click and click. Oh, so good. Now, if anybody doesn't want to redraw what they've already drawn, it's a good time to save, right? So I'm going to go up, I'm going to say File, Save As, and you want to navigate now to where you want it to save. If you want to save on your OneDrive and you're a total OneDrive, like I get it, I love the OneDrive, I'm passionate about the OneDrive. I'm not one of those people. I'm going to save to the OneDrive though, because that's what I have common here. But you can also navigate to your flash drive by doing the down arrow and then finding your flash drive here. It might be even listed on the left-hand side here. Sometimes it is when you have it plugged in, okay? And then you can save it to your flash drive or jump drive, Okay, so I'm going to save mine to my OneDrive, mechanical design courses, tech drafting, and we're gonna, what is this called? I think it's called the locator or something, right? Locator part, the locator part. Tutorial. Okay, and you want the DWG. Now, what's nice about this is when you pull this up again and you just pull the file up, all of the layers will be set for it. So they go along with the drawing as well. You don't have to pull up the template again or anything like that. All right. Any questions so far as we're kind of moving along here? All right. Let's kind of see what they're going to do next. Okay, good. So if we go to page 516 in our book, all right, we've kind of got these parts. We went ahead, we did a little bit more trimming right away. We're going to place this circle right there to create that round, okay? And notice that they're giving us the coordinates. But again, those coordinates come from the original drawing here. So they're 2 1/4 in from that right edge, and it's centered on the actual part, okay? Centered on the part, so 1 1/2 up, okay? So if we go back to AutoCAD, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to place that circle, and it's going to be center diameter. The diameter is going to be 1 inch, and we need to put it right in here at those coordinates. So we are going to pick, now whether you pick this bottom left-hand corner or you pick, you know, the upper, it doesn't really matter, but we're going to be in the middle, 1 1/2 from either side, and then from that edge, 2 1/4. Okay, 2 1/4. So I'm going to go into I did my circle command already. It wants to know where my first point is. I want to snap from, and I'm going to pick my lower right-hand corner of that view. Okay. And now I need to put in the coordinates from that point. So I'm going to do the @ symbol, and my X direction is going to be -2.25, comma, and I'm going up 1.5. So positive 1.5 in the Y. There it is. And then now it wants to know, okay, it's asking me what's my diameter. My diameter is 1 inch. 1, enter. Now I can trim away the top, right? So I'm going to go up to my trim command. I'm going to get rid of this part of the circle, that line in between, that line in between. I want to leave these two because that's that little shelf on the top or that flat on the top. And I'm good. Oh my goodness, this looks so awesome. So isn't it starting to look like a little bit more like official? Like you're making an actual drawing you're going to share with somebody. They're going to make it. So good. All right. Let's see what they're going to do next. Okay. So now we're here. We're going to go down and we're going to add these 2 cutouts in the back. Okay. We're going to add these 2 cutouts in the back. So 1/4 inch in and 1/2 inch in. Go ahead and do that. See if you can, you know, devise a plan for putting those little cutouts in place. I'm going to let you take a minute to kind of get them in place, see what you would do. And then I'll share with how I'm going to do it, and you can see if it lines up. If you think the same way I do. There are a number of ways that you can put it in. So if you do a different plan than I do, then it doesn't mean that it's wrong. We will, yes. And I'll be showing you how to put those in. There's a couple of functions that we want to use for those too. All right, so how I tend to go, and it's really based on how I learned or how I constructed a lot when I was using AutoCAD on a regular basis. I tend to do a lot of offsetting and constructing and then trimming away. It does make for extra clicks, just so you know. So when you are able to put in coordinates, probably goes a little quicker. Okay, so I'm going to go the coordinate method first because it may not be how you did it either. Because I think we tend to like use the offset then. So, because again, it's more efficient to use coordinates when you can, as opposed to always doing construction, because then you got to trim a lot away. So let me do the coordinates. So I'm going to put my line in here, and it wants to know what is your first point. So I want to do a snap from. I'm going to go that lower left-hand corner, and I'm going to put my coordinate over to the right. So it's 0.25. Wait, no. Yeah, 0.25 comma. Oh, shoots. It has to be at, because it was going to go absolute. So let me try it again. Snap from. Here, I've got to use my at symbol first. So I go from that point that I just created. Hope I snapped from the right place. And I'm going to be 0.25 comma 0. Okay, so notice I'm starting my line here. Now what I'm going to do from that point. Now I could put my ortho on, but I'm going to be putting the coordinates in straight up. So again, I have to do the at symbol. And it's going to be a 0 comma, because I'm not going to go left or right, but I'm going to go up. Is it 0.5? Yeah, 0.5. Enter. Oh, good. What's going on here? Lucas. I locked up. Hold on. Line. Snap from. I think it was because Lucas, it's not your fault. You you came in and I had to admit you. And I think AutoCAD got off track. All right. And now I'm going to do the at symbol. And I'm going to be over 0.25 comma 0. Enter. So I'm starting there. Okay. I'm going straight up 0.5. Now, because I have my dynamic input in, I actually don't have to put the coordinates in for this one. I can simply push up a 1/2 inch, have my ortho on, and just enter in 0.5. And then I'm going to go over, and notice I have perpendicular on, and it's going to snap to be perpendicular over here, and then exit or escape. So now I have that part in, and I don't have to do as much trimming. I can just trim away the little parts that I have here and here. Okay, so let me do that again for the top here. I'm going to go line, snap from, and all I need is that first point. I'm going to snap from there. I'm going to do shift at. I'm going to go over to the right, 0.25 comma 0, and that's the start of my line. Now I'm going to push down 0.5, and then I'm going to go over perpendicular. Okay. And then I'm going to trim away what I don't want. Let me just check the chat real quick. Comma 0.5. Oh, sorry. Lucas, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, how did other people do this? Did you guys do offsets and then trim away? Okay. That's a couple more clicks. Now, that doesn't mean that that's a bad way to do it, but what you want to be sure of, this is something I want you to be aware of, and I'm going to be checking this on your drawings as well. Good construction, okay? Meaning we don't have overlapping lines, so that, for instance, let's say I go over a line and I just click on it. I only want it to be one line. You see how it goes from one endpoint to the other. Sometimes when we're learning, we're more concerned about how does it look as opposed to what do the lines look like, or what are they, is it good construction? Notice that each time I do this, if I click on a line, I've only got one line there, and I only have, it's going from the endpoints it's supposed to. Okay, you can kind of go around here. If you start selecting and you have, you know, add-on lines or extra lines where it didn't go all the way to the edge, but then you added on a line, you don't want to do that. You want to extend those lines, and you want to make sure that you're making it all the way to your intersections. Okay. Has anybody had any of that where they've been like, oh, I'm just going to kind of clean it up? Don't do that. Make sure that you kind of start over and you have continuous lines that aren't on top of each other and are, you know, to their endpoints and trimmed nicely. All right. So let's see what they're going to do next in our book. Oh, this is the good part. On page 518. We have this going on. So what we want to do is we're going to use this 45-degree miter line. Okay. And this is going to be used for construction from our top view to our right side view. Okay. And the reason we're going to do that is because the right side view is down here. Now, remember when we were looking at where we get our principal dimensions from. Our width dimension here in our right side view is the same width dimension that we see here, or the depth, right? Okay, so these two are related, and we could actually take this view and turn it, and we would be looking same view right side here, but it would be turned, as you can imagine. Okay, but instead of doing that, we want to stick with our right side view. Because we have a 45-degree angle, we're going to use this miter line to actually, you can kind of see, we're going to push construction lines across, and then we're going to come down and we're going to use those to construct that right side view. Okay, so let's do that. Back to AutoCAD, and we're going to create that miter line with an object line for right now. So we're going to create a line, and we're going to go to the intersection here. I'm going to turn my ortho off and go up to the intersection over here. Okay, and make sure you're grabbing those intersections, because those two, that block is a square, and it's going to be 45-degree angle. There's a 45-degree angle there. Okay, now we're going to change our layer to construction. Change your layer construction. And now we're going to put some lines across. I'm not going to do as many lines as they did, because I think it's a lot of lines. I like to kind of do them a couple at a time, and then I'll get rid of them, so that's not too much to look at. So the lines that we're going to be putting over are going to be like these little edges that aren't, because we already have the outside, right? And you can see those are coming down, but now we want to do these little edges. So I'm going to go back to our construction line. Okay. And we're going to I'm going to start at this corner here. Now, I want this to be horizontal only. So I'm going to go back to my ortho mode, and we're just going to go like this. Okay. And we're going to hit escape, and I'm going to put a horizontal line in there. Then I'm going to hit enter to get back into that construction line. And I'm going to click on this point and then just go horizontal, right click, and then hit enter, and then hit enter again. Do the same thing here. By hitting enter in between each time, we're ending the command, but then we're also starting the command again. And it's a way that you don't have to go back up and click it separately each time. The enter key, remembers the previous command. It's a little bit more efficient. Okay, so those are the only ones that I'm going to be putting in place right now. They did more, all right? Now I'm going to go to that intersection that's created here, and we're going to create vertical lines going down. So I'm going to go back to I'm going to hit enter again. I'm still in that construction line mode, but this time I'm going to go from the intersection created right here. I'm going to click, and I'm going to go straight down and click, and then hit enter to end the command, and then enter to go back in. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the next intersection. Click, but go down, click, enter, enter, click the next intersection, go down, enter, enter, and then the last intersection right here, and go down, enter. Okay. So now what we essentially have done is taken these lines and translated them straight down into our view. Okay. So if we go over, kind of catch ourselves up over here on page 521, this is what we have. They have a couple extra lines. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the visible lines where we would see them. Okay. Now, before we do, I'm going to deviate a little bit from them so that we don't have as much trimming to do. So, so you'll notice that when we have our front view here, we have our foot part coming out. We need to draw a line horizontal across here. This is going to go all the way across, which we did in our sketch. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go back up. Actually, I don't have to. We're going to do an offset. I'm going to do offset, and it's going to be 1 inch because this height right here is 1 inch. So I'm going to hit enter, and we're going to select that bottom line there, and we're just going to go straight up and then click and then hit escape. So now we have that line straight across. Okay. Because each one of these intersections that we created is part of the foot. So they did it where they drew the lines all the way down and then they trimmed them. Well, why not just start where we need them instead of doing the trimming on the back end? So now we're just going to go back up to our object line, change to our object line, to our line command, and we're going to get close here. And you'll notice with my object snaps, I'm going to actually scooch in. Oopsie, scooch in. And it gets an X there because I have in my running object snaps a parent intersection or intersection created or selected. So I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to go straight down. Perpendicular I also have activated. So notice the perpendicular is there, and I'm going to click when I get there. And then I can hit exit or escape or enter. I'm going to hit enter to redo that command because I want to just draw another line, find that intersection, perpendicular, and then enter, enter, intersection, perpendicular, enter, enter, intersection, perpendicular. All right, and escape to end the command. All right. So, like I said, as we look back over here, they went the full height and then they trimmed. All right. This way we don't have to worry about trimming a little bit later. Now let's add the extra lines that are in there, and those are the 2 hidden lines. Okay. The 2 hidden lines are going to come from this surface back here, this edge that we created earlier, that little cutout. It's going to go over and down, and then this one is going to go over and down. So let's go back to AutoCAD. All right. And we are going to add in those construction lines. So I have to go back to my construction line layer, and then we're going to hit the construction line command, and we're going to grab that end, right? That end in that top view and make a horizontal construction line through it. Enter, and then enter again to do that command one more time, and then enter. So the intersections that I just created are here and here, okay? So let's put vertical lines, vertical construction lines then going straight down. So from that intersection here, down, enter, and then enter again from here, this intersection, straight down. So again, on my object snaps, I'm running object snaps down here, I have intersection activated. So that's why I'm getting that X and perpendicular. And that's why I get that perpendicular sign. So now this line right here that I just created, I know it's getting to be a lot of lines, but it's this line right here and this line right here. We're now going to make those hidden because essentially we have to look through, or even if we look over here, through, that cutout is back here. I have to look through material to see it. So it's going to be a hidden line. So we're going to change to a hidden line. And we're going to go back up here to the line command, and we're going to grab the intersection. I'm going to go, oopsie. I'm going to go to that view, intersection, and perpendicular, enter. Do the line command again, hit enter again, intersection, perpendicular, and enter. Now we will be trimming that off when we put our angle in, okay? Probably a good idea to do a quick save, right? So let's do a file and save, because it'll save exactly where you saved it the last time when we identified it. Should be good. Any questions so far? Yeah. I will deal with those in a little bit. So hang in there. We got to get through our tutorial first. If you're ahead of me, just hang in there and wait, because I am going to be letting you know what to do with construction lines and what the requirements are. So, so we'll see. Stay tuned. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So now let's kind of deal with this view. All right, let's deal with this view. Let's go back and look at what this is supposed to look like. So I'm going to go back underneath here. And we know, as we look in this direction, we have these angled pieces, right? And you'll notice that it says 30 degrees on this side. The assumption is it's 30 degrees on the other side as well. So if we look back at our view, our right side view, from horizontal, this is going to be 30 degrees. From horizontal, this is going to be 30 degrees. So we need to get this angle in there. All right. So that's what we're going to do in AutoCAD next. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a horizontal line, and I'm going to extend it kind of further than I need it to be. And then I'm going to rotate it, and then we're going to trim away what we don't need. Okay. So we're going to start with just a regular line. Now I need to be back on my object line layer. Okay. Line. And where does this start? Now, remember, we did our construction line going straight across. So this is where it's actually starting. So right here in that right side view, this is where that angle is going to start on the right side. So I'm going to start a line here. I'm going to go over the top. Now, it's not going to be over the top for long, but I'm just going to extend it out a distance, and then left click again and then hit a, oops. Try it again. Line, line. Come on, why aren't you clicking? What am I doing wrong here? Line, intersection. There we go. And then enter. I'm not sure why it didn't do it originally. So now I've just got an extended line. Notice that if I click on this, it's starting at that intersection where I'm going to have my, my angle start. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it. So rotate is up and to the left of our trim. And we are going to select that line that we just created. Okay, that line. And now it's going to say, we can keep selecting if we want to rotate more than one thing. So once we have it selected, we have one found. That's all we want. Enter. And now we want to specify our base position. That is going to be where we started our line. So you're just going to click at that point right there. Now, in our command line, it's saying we want to specify the rotation angle. Okay, so the rotation angle this time, we don't want to leave a copy behind. We want to actually rotate the item. So we're not going to click copy. And our angle is going to be 30 degrees. But we have to be careful because remember, horizontal here is 0 and counterclockwise is a positive angle. We want to go clockwise. So we have to enter in a negative first. So it's going to be a negative 30. Okay, and there it is. Now we're going to trim away what we don't need. Okay, so we're going to do a trim, get rid of this, this, and that. Okay, so that's one side. Let's do that again. Now we could do a mirror if we wanted to. We could, but it's not a bad idea to just practice the rotate command. So let's just go through it one more time. We're going to do, I'm sorry, we have to put our line in place first. Put a line from that point right there out, random length. Okay, and then escape. And then we're going to do a rotate. Click on that line. Just select the one, enter. We're going to go back to the base point right there. And now I'm going to turn my ortho off because it does make it, I want to rotate it. Now from horizontal this time, I'm going to be rotating, if you notice, I'm going to be rotating counterclockwise, right? So this is going to be a positive 30 degrees. There we go. Okay. And then trim away what we don't want. Trim. There we go. Okay. Not a bad idea to do another save. Again, when you don't want to redo what you just did. There we go. Okay. Now, you'll notice that we now have the starting point of this cutout going down, and it's constructed from where it's going to have this angle here. So let's go back to our front view. I'm going to zoom in here. So we just see these two views. And I'm going to do a construction line back in two places, actually. Let's do another little aid. Down here, we have show snapping references. It's off to the left of our object snaps. You guys have that show snapping reference lines. Everybody see that? Okay. I think it's part of like the regular package, like they have that standard. So what we're going to do is we're not going to do construction line. We're going to do a line. And we're going to go to that intersection and we're just going to hover over it. Okay. And we're going to go like this. We're going to go over, over, over. And do you see how you get this green activation line? You see that? All right. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. And what's going to happen is it's going to snap to the surface in my front view of the upright portion. And then now I'm going to go straight across. And when I get to perpendicular, I'm going to hit that on the other side, enter. So it's not going to be the full way across, but it's a way to get that line in there rather than having to do a construction line. So I'll do that also for this edge here. So I'm going to do line again, hover over, I'm not clicking, I'm hovering, I'm following. Now I'm going to click when I get to the intersection and then click again when I get to perpendicular and then hit escape. So I've got those two in. Now to find where that ends, I got this here, right? So this is going to come straight down and go the whole length. And that's going to give me the part that I need to get rid of as well. So line, I'm going to hover over. down, down, down. And I'm just going to start at the top here and go perpendicular down. Okay. Now, let's look back at our original drawing and see what we need to get rid of, or your sketch if you want to. So if I go back underneath here, this is what we were looking at. So it needs to look like this. So we need to trim away so that we end up with this part right there. So let's go back to AutoCAD and we're going to hit trim and we're going to get rid of this one, and that one. Okay. How do you feel about that? And it looks good, doesn't it? Looks good. Any questions at the moment? All right. Now we've got a couple more hidden lines to put in, or actually I think a couple more lines. So as we look top view down to the front view, we have this little edge right here. This is not a blend. This is not a radius. So we need to put in this edge straight down. So we're going to do that very same thing. We're still on our object line layer. It's an edge that we would see. We're going to like activate that corner, go straight down, straight down, straight down, click when we get to that intersection, and then perpendicular. There we go. And you can put your ortho on for that too. All right. So now object line wise, I think we are good. We do need to add a hidden line for the back edge of the radius on that slot. So we're going to go back to our hidden line. Okay. And here we can't do that activation like we did before. We're going to actually draw a line from this quadrant, the quadrant, not the center line. And I don't have quadrant on my running object snap. So I'm going to do right or shift right mouse button. And then I'm going to do quadrant from that corner right there. And then I'm going to zoom or pan up a little bit, go over and perpendicular to the bottom. And then I just have to trim that one away. Quadrant isn't one that clicks to as a intersection to go from. So if I click trim, I'll have to kind of trim in between here. And then I can erase the whole line once I have that. Oops, erase. There we go. Okay. So now line wise, hidden and object lines, I think I'm good. I'm just going to kind of verify, go back to the sketch here. And it looks like we have all of our object and hidden lines in place. The last lines that we need to do are the center lines, as we see here. So let's go back here. We're going to do the center lines a little differently than they are, okay? We are going to go up to the center line. And in the circle here and on the side view, I'm going to show you how we're going to put these in. We're going to go to the Annotate tab on the top. And there is a standard command called center mark. Okay, center mark. So we're going to click on center mark and we're just going to hover over the arc. We're going to click on it and it automatically puts that center mark in place for us. Now, the center marks are only going to be used when we have either the arc view or a circle view of the circular feature. Okay, so we only show it there in this drawing. So I'm going to hit escape after. You'll also notice that we have center line. When we show, for instance, the center line where we have two evenly placed sides. So in this case, because this is in the middle of that slot, we have these two right here. Okay, we're going to use that center line for that. So I'm going to click center line, click on the vertical, and then it places it there. Now, couple things to note about center lines and when we place these. First of all, you'll notice that by default, this is already set up for us where the center line goes just a little bit past, okay? That's a standard in how we put center lines in or center marks in for those circular features. Additionally, even when it's in its rectangular view, if you would, it goes a little bit above and below the line. It doesn't stop at the line, okay? That's a standard. So by using these two commands when it's appropriate, and you have the construction there to use it, then it'll do it automatically for you. You don't have to worry about it. You could put these in manually, but you have to go a little bit beyond the circle. So if you're going to put these in manually with center line as lines, You don't go to the edge of the parts. You have to go a little bit beyond, okay? Now they extended theirs further. I think that's a little overkill, so we're just gonna leave it at that in those two views. Now, down here, we do need to add a center line to show that there's a cylindrical feature that we're not seeing in this view, okay? And we don't, unfortunately, have, this is not, it may be the same distance, I don't know, but this is for a different purpose, okay? So we don't have that evenly distributed line like we did here. So we're gonna have to manually put this center line in, okay? So let's go back to our home menu. We're gonna be on our center layer, and we're gonna go to the line command. Now I'm gonna zoom in here, and what I need to do, oh, I gotta zoom out a little bit so I can see this. So what I need to do is I need this to be in line down here. So I'm gonna click the line command. I'm gonna activate that like intersection that's now there, or endpoint, which is fine. And I'm gonna come straight, oops, come straight down. All right, you guys might have to sit up there for a little bit to test it. Now, you'll notice that it wants to snap to this end, but I am making a center line. I don't want it to snap to the actual part. So I'm gonna go just a little above, okay? And notice that it's not a green X anymore, it's just an X. Wait a second, I gotta get back on it. I moved my mouse. There we go, there. So I'm gonna go just above it, and I'm gonna click, and it's gonna start the line. I'm gonna go a little bit below, and I'm gonna go past it, not perpendicular, and I'm gonna click, okay? And there it is. Now, you'll notice that it doesn't have the little dash in it. So, well, it's on the center line. I'm just gonna, on the center line, it's on the center line layer. I'm just gonna save it and be done. Is that okay? No, we need the dash, yes.
The line for the mark that we have for the slant on the front of the part is exactly the radius away.
That's okay. I'm just going by, I don't know it. So we have to put them in manually sometimes. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. So this line doesn't look like the other ones. Do I just call it done and being like, that's fine, it's on the right layer, we're gonna move on? No. No. What that means is the size of the line and how the spacing is standard is too small or large. We'll have to kind of see for what we're drawing at. Okay, and that's okay. We can deal with that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna exercise a command called hold on. LT scale, line type scale. All right, line type scale. So if I go down here and I do a LT scale, okay, LT line type scale, enter. It's going to ask me, what do you want your scale factor to be? Okay, so I'm going to say I want it to be 0.5. Okay, 0.5, enter. Now, the one that I wanted to change looks good, but what happened to all the other lines? They all changed and they're not good anymore. Okay, they're too small now, because notice that this one doesn't look the same. That's not legal. You can't do that. So we're going to undo that. So when you do LT scale, and sometimes you may want to because your whole drawing is wrong at the moment, then you do want to, change them all. So that's the purpose of that. That LT scale command will put a blanket over everything and change that line type scale for everything, but it's not what we wanted. We only want to change the one. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to click on it, activate it, and then we're going to right click and we're going to go down to properties. And this menu is going to come out. Okay, and I'm going to expand mine out so we can see it. You're going to notice that, and this is going to be only on that one line now. I can change my line type scale to 0.5, enter. And now it's only going to change that one. Okay, and then I can hit escape, and now it looks like the other ones. You see that? Okay, so sometimes you do, especially when you're doing it as, something like as a separate line, you're going to have to kind of fiddle around with this. Okay, and that's an expectation, because remember, when you, for instance, send these drawings out, they're going to be in print form. So they have to print out, or even if somebody pulls it up on their screen, not a print, you have to be able to see that it's a center line, and the line type is part of that. Okay. All right. So now let's do a zoom extents. How does it look? Does this look like what we want? Not yet. What do you think we need to do next? We're not going to say delete, but we're going to get rid of them. We're going to get rid of them. What else do we need to get rid of? That miter line. Yeah. That one we can just delete. So we can go up, we can erase the miter line. We're done with it. We're going to hit enter. But the construction lines, and I'm going to be looking for this, the construction lines. Now, it requires you, what we're going to do next is we're going to hide these construction lines. We're going to like turn them off, they call it. Okay. They'll still be there in the background. So let's say if I want to pull this back up and I need to do some more work on it, and I need maybe some of those construction lines, I don't have to redo them, but I can hide them. I can hide them. So what it requires us to do though is not be on whatever layer we're trying to hide. I'm going to arrow down on my layers, and in front of the construction line, you're going to notice there's a light bulb. Whenever that light bulb is yellow, that means that the layer is active and on. I can just simply click on that individual light bulb, go to the background here, and now all of my construction lines went away. All right. That's what I want you to do. So when I go into your file in this tutorial, I'm going to look. Okay. So for those who haven't been maybe following along very closely, you might not be getting all the points. Okay. So if you did go ahead and delete the construction lines, put them back in. I want to see them in the background. I want to know that you used them, because then I can go up in here and I can say back on, and there's construction lines there. If I hit back on or it's not turned off, I know that you didn't do this. So this is part of, these are the capabilities. And what's nice about this is you can do that for any line. You can turn those on and off as needed. Okay. As needed. Now, does this look good? Yeah. So now we can do a file, save, and we're good. And it's saved even back in that background, even though I turned that off. There it is. Oh, I see something in the chat. I deleted those lines a while ago. Well, I guess you got to put them back in. If you don't want points off, if you don't mind points off, you're like, it's no big deal, then go ahead. See why I want you guys to kind of sit with me through, because these are things I want you to know about. They're things that I want you to practice, and you might have the same looking drawing in the end, but part of the class is like getting used to all the things or most of the things in AutoCAD. I'm not going to get everything, but these are tools that are going to come in handy for you in the future. Yep. So if you did delete them, if you went ahead, you deleted them. Yep. Get them back in there some way, somehow. And then turn them off, and then do your save. And then this will be the version that you upload. Okay. So you'll notice that we used, a number of the different, not all of them, but we used what? We use object lines, hidden lines, center lines, and construction lines. Okay. And you want to do that. Now, let's say you're drawing and like all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I accidentally started drawing on the wrong layer. Do I have to delete everything and start over? No. Okay. So if, for instance, you're moving along and you're like, I put this one on the wrong layer, all you have to do is select it like I did here, and it's called with grips. You go up to whatever layer you want that on, and I'm going to switch it to a layer. I'm going to put it on the dimension layer, and it'll put it on that layer. And then you hit escape, and it's where you want it to be. So if you start, for instance, on the construction lines and they're on the object line layer, you just go in, you select each one of those individually, you go up to your layer, and then you put it on the right layer, and you're moving along. Okay. You don't have to start over, but in the end, everything's got to be on the appropriate layer. If it's a visible object line, it has to be on the object line layer. And having these line widths here, I think gives you that clue that you're on the right layer too, right? Okay. Nothing is drawn on the 0 layer. So if anybody drew anything on the 0 layer, guess what? Switch them over to the right layer. All right. Because yeah, when you're up here at the top, the 0 layer has the same color as the object line layer. And if you say, oh, I'm just going to put on the 0 layer. Nope. Nope. Needs to be on the object line layer. Okay. I know. I am going to be checking that. Okay. Those are the details that makes you like an exceptional designer draftsperson. Not kidding. Okay. Because at a company, there is always one or two people's drawings that when you come up and you notice their initials are in the title block, you're like, oh crap, I got to draw this all over again. That's a fact. That's a fact. You don't want to be the initials that somebody needs to draw everything over again. You want to be the initials and be like, oh, cool. Now I can just go from where I'm at because I know it's constructed well and it's done right. Okay. You want to be that person. And people who graduate from WCTC are those people. People who learn AutoCAD on YouTube are the other people. Facts. Okay. They're not teaching you the standards. This is part of the standards to drafting. And that's the important part when you're a designer and an engineer. Okay. That's the important part. Because now remember, this is a graphical language. A center line isn't an object line that just has some, dashes on it. Well, it's actually a center line that's on the right layer. That's the right line width, and it's generated automatically. You will come across drawings potentially. There was people I knew who would literally draw a center line, line, dash, and it was all separate lines rather than using the actual line type and putting it. I know we look like, why would you do that? But if you don't know, and you're just trying to make a pretty picture, that is terrible. Yes, it's like against the disgrace. That's a better word. So again, you don't want to be that person, all right? And maybe I'm making light of it, but it's actually the truth. It's really the truth. Okay, any questions on the tutorial? All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna stop. We're gonna take a break. I'm gonna give you a 15-minute break till about, I guess it would be 9:48. And then we'll be back and we'll start looking at some of the exercises at the end. Okay, all right.